What's up, everyone? My name is Vincent. Today I'll be presenting over a podcast I listened to recently. It's called The Arm by Jeff Passan. A little overview for it. Like I said, my name's Vincent, and this podcast really provided intel of effects to baseball players from throwing a baseball. Really, to be specific, this is about pitchers in general, just because when you pitch at a high level, throwing over 90 miles per hour, it becomes more common for baseball injuries. The story in the podcast really just goes over players recovering from Tommy John surgery and how they came back from it through their culture, science, and economics. Why I chose this podcast is I've always been interested in sports, business, science, and human performance. I thought this podcast would be really good. A little key concept. In baseball, elite pitching talent is very rare, and it's a big investment. Teams spend millions to be able to protect their arms, players' health, and to try and eliminate the risk of being injured. Teams hire strength coaches, athletic trainers, and other positions to help contribute to this success. A takeaway from this concept: you want to be skillful and valuable with who you're hiring. Concept number 2 right here, we got risk and recovery and resilience. This is a theme that really just comes along with baseball. I mean, you're not going to be able to completely avoid Tommy John surgery. That's kind of what they were talking about, how Tommy John surgery can be physically and mentally demanding, but it's a high stakes process. There's going to be setbacks. You just have to be able to overcome it. The podcast was talking about. The takeaway is basically they're just talking about resilience and how you're going to need resilience to be able to undergo. Concept number 3, we got the cost of overemphasis performance. Jeff Passan, he really critiqued culture. Culture was kind of a thing that was pushing pitchers to work harder or not, and this really affected if they were getting hurt, making sure they're doing the right stuff, putting the right stuff in their body, stuff like that. Yeah, takeaway from it, really just their success really just comes from balance on their rest, recovery, and what they're doing for their support system. Last little key concept right here, just kind of getting into the analytics part of the sport. They kind of just showed how technology and all these new inventions we have in today's era has really helped be able to use that on and off the field. It's transformed baseball with many different strategies and player development. Takeaway is use the technology to your advantage. Couple lesson 1 and 2 right here. Lesson 1 goes over you are your own arm. So pitchers need to protect their arms like it's their body. They need to protect, invest, and know their core strengths. They need to be creative, communicate with the trainers, and have technical skills to know. They need to know what they have to do to maintain their arm. Lesson number 2, power of continuous learning. As you go on, you learn more what you should, what you shouldn't be doing, to know what's going to help recover for your arm. The best pitchers in baseball, they have very set schedules. They know what they need to do every day, every week, in order to recover and go back to how they're playing. Yeah, they stay relevant in today's career because they just know they're on a plan. Lesson 3, you got the role of your networks. So pitchers, they rely on their coach, doctors, trainers, and family in order to stay healthy and kind of stay on track. In our own careers, mentors and networkers, teachers, this is kind of like how it goes for us. Lesson number 4, we got the economics of value. The podcast was talking about measuring and analyzing talent. You need to understand your own values as skill, impact, and your potential just to be able to sustain your career path. A couple things that I had for my own action plan was skill maintenance and growth. I wanted to identify core skills and commit to developing this on education and practice. For example, if communication or leadership is my arm, I'll protect it by seeking feedback and avoiding burning myself out. Oh, excuse me. Building resilience, you kind of want to accept setbacks as part of a process. You know, an example of this would be journaling challenges and learning from what you write in your journal each day to stay focused and, you know, figure out what you need to be doing each day to better yourself. Networking and mentorship, pitchers rely on coaches. You know, you have connections, you have other people that are professionals that know what they're doing. They rely on them, they build a trust, a relationship in order to know what they should be doing to help them out. Balancing with their well-being, you know, you gotta have breaks, you gotta have healthy habits in order to be able to do this. This is a draining career path on your body, so you have to be able to have fun with it, obviously. And data and self-awareness, you can use reflection in order to track your progress. So if you're throwing 95 one week and then you're throwing 85 the next week, there's probably a problem going on. So that's how you can use data to your advantage. Now, kind of to link this with other class concepts, after going through the podcast, I thought concept number 1, we dig in career development and self-concept. This relates to life in general, just kind of a theory, like pitchers evolve through stages just like humans evolve. You know, you start as a baby and then next thing you know, you blink and you're an old man. But, you know, pitchers, you start with T-ball and next thing you know, you're in the major leagues throwing 95. So you change as you go along. Concept number 2, your emotional intelligence. You know, this provides resilience and emotional control. So if you do go through an injury, you have to know what to be able to do to get back on the field and be able to do the right steps in order to return how you were before you got injured. You need to have a concept number 3, a growth mindset. This kind of just says you have to show effort. You can't just give up if you get hurt. You have to be able to have that rebuild mentality. And concept number 4, just be a leader and be a good teammate. You know, you're not going to be able to do this alone. So advice is saying, you know, use your connections to your advantage, be a good teammate, and you help people out, they're going to help you out in return. And last thing, we got a little conclusion. After reading the arm or listening to the arm, it reminded me of success in sports. It doesn't just come from mastering your craft, but you have to protect your strengths and stay resilient through adversity. In baseball, the arm is everything. Kind of to relate this to life, goes through skills, your mindset, and determination of your value. That's my presentation over the arm, and hope you liked it.